Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you're doing well. Let's talk about one of the most interesting chart phenomenons that has happened this year. That would be this new Shaboozey single, a bar song, Tipsy. Now, if you're not already familiar with singer, songwriter, rapper Shaboozey, you should be, not just because this new track of his has spent multiple weeks at #1 right now, but also because he had a very nice placement on that new Beyonce album, Cowboy Carter, and also he's currently one of these artists who is just seeing such a big cultural boost at the moment due to the fact that both country and hip-hop are sort of like battling right now for what is going to be the next cultural zeitgeist for the next 10 years. It does slowly look like country is going to be taking over, but regardless of what direction that goes in, Shaboozey is going to benefit either way. Now, the guy has 3 albums under his belt at this point, including his latest, which just dropped this year. He's clearly a talent with a look, an image, a style, and also a very solid voice too. But I wanted to talk for a quick second about why exactly I think this song has been standing so firmly at #1 for so long, with no sign of it dropping off the charts anytime soon. I mean, this track's place on the charts is so solid, it essentially even blocked the Lady Gaga and Bruno Mars cut from hitting #1. I mean, this song is still holding strong, even with numerous tracks from the Post Malone album, which just dropped, and commercially has been very successful, nipping at its heels. So far at the time of me shooting this video, this track has been on the charts for 19 whole weeks, and 7 of those weeks have been at the #1 spot, which is why I have essentially listed 5 reasons why I think this track is doing as well commercially as it is. Now, most or maybe all of these reasons might be a pretty obvious read, but I still think they all culminate into a winning recipe for a #1 song in the current pop music paradigm. First reason being that country music is huge at the moment, and historically speaking, on the pop charts, Americans love a country crossover. Essentially a country song that can appeal so widely it's even hitting with non-country fans. Which I know historically to be true because I came up during the 90s when, you had your Achy Breaky Heart, Friends in Low Places, your Garth Brooks, your Billy Ray Cyrus, so on and so forth. No matter what walk of life you come from, Americans typically can all kind of convene around a hootin', hollerin', catchy, energetic country song, and this track most certainly is that. The #2 reason why I think this track is doing as well as it is at #1 is, if there's another thing Americans love, it's a goddamn drinking song. Maybe if you're especially a younger listener, that might seem a little alien to you on the pop charts these days, because as streaming has become like the primary mode through which people experience music, a lot of the stories and narratives and vibes that are conveyed through popular music tend to be a lot more kind of low-key and individualized, whereas pop music that tends to be centered around a party atmosphere, the club, its presence in the mainstream is not as great as it was in like the 2000s when I remember it to be, where DJs and whether or not a particular track would go over well in the club were kind of a pretty key gateway in terms of like whether or not a track did well on the radio, on the charts. Did people want to hear this song when they were out having a good time with their friends? And it feels like right now in what many perceive to be like a post-COVID era where everyone can go out again and have a good time and start socializing more. And yes, of course, drinking. We need exactly a song, exactly an anthem for just that occasion. And Shaboozey's track here fills that exact void perfectly, and also reminds listeners of an era when music with that vibe and with that style was more prominent and prevalent and popular, given that the track interpolates one of the most classic club rap bangers of all time, Jaquan's Tipsy. Which brings me to my third reason that this track is doing so well, that given its genre crossover that it's got bringing to the table here, it has a little something for everybody. While Shaboozey has recorded his fair share of just straight up country songs, he also has quite a few songs that blend elements of hip hop and country, and it has enough of each mixed into it to where I feel like listeners or fans of each genre can get into what he's presenting here, because you do have what are essentially 2 of the most American institutions in all of popular music melding together for a pretty catchy song that once again is all about carefree vibes, fun, getting wasted, and not thinking too much about anything all that heavy with a very repeatable 1, 2, 3, 4 chorus. The fourth reason that I think this track is doing so well, I think has to do with a previous very successful single on the Billboard Hot 100. In fact, the longest running #1 single of all time. That would be Lil Nas X's Old Town Road, which I'm kind of surprised isn't being brought up more in the context of this track. Not that I think they're exactly the same aesthetically as Shaboozey's track over here. Vibes-wise is just a wee bit more country. And not that I'm implying either that Lil Nas X and Shaboozey are similar types of artists, as Montero was pretty quick to dive much further into pop and rock music and hip-hop too, since, having released more singles and even a full-length project. Still, with all of that being said though, Shaboozey is currently just like fast-track running down a path that was previously just cut out for him to do so with that other very long-running rap country crossover. Even if they are very different songs from different artists, the ways in which they are the same, I think, are what makes them so commercially viable. And then we have the number 5 reason that I think this track is doing well, and that's because of its attitude, because of how outlandish the interpolation is and the country rap combination is. There is kind of an element of like novelty fun to it. Like, it's a seriously enjoyable song, but simultaneously you don't need to take it too seriously, as it doesn't really seem like it's taking itself all that seriously too. Because again, I mean, really, a rap country crossover that invokes Jaquan's Tipsy, it just kind of seems like we're playing musical Mad Libs in a way. The concept from the outset is just absolutely ridiculous, but the end result just happened to be complete fire commercially. But there you go. In my view, those are the top 5 reasons why I think this Shaboozey track is doing so well on the charts right now, and has no signs, again, of it dropping off of the Hot 100 anytime soon. Let me know your thoughts on this track. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Does it deserve that #1 spot? And will it stay at that peak for much longer? Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Shaboozey, a bar song forever.
Did y'all hear Dolly Parton is Shaboozey's godmother?